Well, yeah, yeah, I know. Okay. Oh, that's the one I just see something. Well, you on your phone?
No, no, why?
Oh, that's the other one. Are you there? Mom? Mom? What happened? I heard bump and then nothing.
You're not finding, did you find it?
I'm just gonna send it to both like I usually do.
You know
Send it to both like I usually do.
what?
I don't know what happened. That was the other, because I said I had two. That was the other email I had. Was use Carol 914. So you're saying that's the one I should use? Right. Okay. I'm typing up now. Right.
I hope we make it to 20.
We had 13
Yeah,
signatures?
two of them were doubles.
Okay, well, normally we get at least twice the people show up that reserved.
Okay, that's good. So Read AI meeting notes still wants to come in again. I'm going to remove that. Um, Jay's here. Patrick's here.
I
Patrick
am.
is yeah, we're somewhere. You're there. You're not here. You're there. Is it still raining? Is it
Oh, it's bright sunny. A
so it's
few overcast clouds, but it's bright sunny now.
so the flood warnings are over?
Yes, but we have earthquakes and tidal waves.
Tidal waves?
Yep, tsunamis.
You have a tsunami coming?
We did. There was a 7.0 north of San Francisco, a couple hundred miles, and so there was all these tsunami warnings out. That was a couple days ago.
But they didn't happen.
Well, not to me.
Not to you, so it doesn't matter then. Okay.
And there's nothing up that part of California except pot farms. So
Oh no. The marijuana business is going to be drowned. Oh boy, that sure affects my life at all. Not. I still haven't smoked a joint. I'm 73. I still haven't done it.
you're kidding.
No,
Well, now you
never.
don't have to bother smoking. You can get edibles.
Right, I can get edibles. I guess. Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh boy, let's see. Don Loftus, I'm honored by your presence once
Hi
more.
there. How
Yay.
are you? I heard Nick
Hurrah.
and I raced right in.
You heard
Actually,
what?
I'm like you. I'm 70, and I think maybe I've smoked three in my life. I don't know how we missed it because that was our generation.
I
But
hated it. Somebody stuck a joint in my mouth. We were walking along the street. I think it was my lover. He stuck a joint in my mouth as we're walking, and I just went, "Ugh."
my wife's the same way. I just giggled. I just got really silly and just giggled, and I never really went back. Although today I could use a little giggle. Maybe it would be a good idea.
We can all use a big giggle these days.
I just read where MSNBC their viewership's down like 40%.
I can't watch. I just
I know.
can't
I'm the
watch
same
it.
way. I mean, I love Rachel Maddow and the whole group, but it's too depressing. You know.
That's kind of natural because the election's over. There's
Yeah.
people with my hair. Oh my God.
Election's over? Who won?
I mean, let's not say this room lost, but I mean, we all watched a lot more news when there was actually something going on. Now it's just like we've
Oh no,
nothing.
no, no. I see. Sandy has his weekend brunch buddies cup.
Fine, like it'd be great if you could schedule appointments and stuff. It's outside of school hours.
Okay, I don't know who that. Oh, Cheryl Davis. Oh, my goodness gracious.
To see a resurgence of that position from Trump, which they say will likely impact how the department carries out its duties. Washington
Yes.
Post is reporting about those concerns.
Television?
What am I hearing? What am I hearing?
You're probably hearing the television in my background. Give me a sec.
Curbing violent extremism, especially among right-wing movements.
There we go. Sorry.
So I'm trying to think who iPhone 127 is. I just any guess iPhone 127. I muted you because I thought you were causing some background noise. It turned out to be Sandy. So hi, iPhone 127. Who are you? Oh, is this Kent Danley? Hello, hello.
It's
Hello?
Silent Sue.
Oh, is it Sue Crawford?
No, that's Susan, please.
Susan Crawford. Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
There
I'm
she is.
very particular about that.
I love Susan in one frame and Dan in the other.
We're in different
How is this trial separation working?
very well.
It's nice to have a room of your own.
Is it a closet? Tell us the truth.
Mhm.
Oh no, you muted yourself.
Oh no, it's okay. It's all right.
All right.
He's in the living room. I'm in the dining room.
Ah,
No,
okay.
I'm not in the living room, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
I don't know where he is.
so the weekly. Oh boy, I'm going to be losing my voice. That's not good. That's not a good thing. Give me a second. So, reminder that you should put your info into the chat, meaning your email address. That's what we use to take attendance. And I already see. Oh, iPhone 127. We're still not hearing you. Hello, iPhone 127 calling iPhone 127. Whoever does, I'm going to guess that it's Kate Danley, and we'll figure that out at some point. But right now, I don't think we can't hear you.
We can see that you're trying, but your voice isn't coming through.
Thank you for explaining that.
Bob, I have a question about tomorrow.
Yes.
How did the people on Zoom divide up between the ones coming in person? Is it the presenters will be there in person and observers on Zoom?
No, most of the observers are going to be in person. There's only two out of 14 that are going to be coming in on Zoom, and the presenters. Emily's coming in from Hawaii. The three ladies at the end of the day, two of them are coming in live. Virginia Carroll will be lecturing live, and I'm waiting to hear from Blair Russell. I have a feeling he's not in town. I have a feeling he's doing this from one of his many homes. I think he's got one in Arizona, one in Montana. I don't really understand it.
I have one in every town as long as it's New York City.
There you go. And Conrad's coming in on Zoom tomorrow, right, Conrad?
I might come down to the theater, but so far I registered a Zoom.
Okay, if you come down to the theater, we'll give you. I think Gary bought some pie.
Oh, that's wonderful! I think I'll bring some pie too.
Okay, there we go. So I think let me make sure Paul isn't wondering what's going on. Give me a second.
What's happening tomorrow on Zoom or at the theater? Can somebody tell me?
Oh, we're doing an all-day workshop, Essentials of Successful Self-Producing.
Oh, is it too late to sign up for that on the Zoom?
No, it's not too late at all.
You send me the link?
You know what? I will find that link.
I'll post it in the chat, Bob.
You're going to put it in the chat. Thank you.
Did you get a solution on the speaker, Bob?
The speaker for no, I did not get a solution on the speaker. I don't think we're going to have that speaker meaning a not a person, a machine, a thing that is a speaker.
A sound producing device.
That makes the sound, that makes the sound happen. So I may need to Oh boy. Jay? No. Is Jay here? Jay's here. I'm not seeing Jay. Why am I not seeing Jay? Anyway, I was going to say that Robert Carroll is on a tight schedule. He's gonna pop in at about 5:25, and he will be with us for exactly an hour. He's a politician, so when he says he's leaving at 6:30, I think he means it. So I'm just waiting for Paul Leibowitz to let me know when he's going to be popping in.
Hello.
Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to do our going around the room and saying howdy to everybody. Let me let's see. Oh, and you don't have Paul Leibowitz's email, do you?
I don't believe so.
I'm going to email that to you, and you're going to keep an eye on, see what's going on with him.
So iPhone 127 is Michael Colby.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. Good to know. So, and I'm setting this email up, and okay, so here we go. You wouldn't believe how many emails came into my account in like the last 10 minutes. I mean, there's like 20 of them. So everybody, again, a reminder to put your email address into the chat so that we know we're here, so that we can take attendance. And I'm going to arrange the frames. Are we missing Jay? I don't see him.
He's not here. No, he's not here.
He started to come in. I guess he's having troubles. He's having troubles. So anyway, guys, I'm Bob Ost. For those of you who don't know me, I don't think there's any of you who don't know me, but tomorrow we are doing our once a year essentials of successful self-producing. I can only seem to pull this together once a year in order to get the people together who I like to have presenting. So it's going to be noon to 6:30. I think Owen put the link into the chat. So anybody who's interested in attending by Zoom or live, you'll have the link. You can contact me. There's a discount for TRU members. It's less for TRU members, and there's also a discount for anybody who needs it. So just email me and I can give you a discount on it. And I'm planning, I think we have settled on either Saturday or Sunday, January 25th or 26th for our annual Raising Money for Theater, Who, How, and When to Ask a workshop. So bear that in mind. That's going to be an all-day workshop in a weekend at the end of January. We are going to be having our first musical presentation. Paul Leibowitz is in, yay. We're going to have our first musical presentation since 2019 on, what is the date? The date is, if I can find my 2025 calendar, it's going to be like the first Sunday in February of 2025. It's a musical called American Tropical, and it's going to be produced by Jamila Ponton Bragg, and it's by Gina Gallego, Joel, God help me with his last name, and Jan Roper. It's Joel. I know Joel. Joel's been in our series before. The mind is on vacation right now. I'm trying to get it to come back, but it's not cooperating. So lots of stuff coming up. Jay is not here to announce it, but we are actually going to run a second auction for those of you who were or were not bidding on the first auction. We're getting a few more shows. I think we're getting Gypsy, and I think we're getting Hell's Kitchen, plus a lot of stuff for actors. So things from the first auction that were not bid on, just being honest, they weren't bid on. So come on in and grab some good stuff that would be a great Christmas present for an actor friend, and plus other things that are going to be going on. So keep an eye out for the TRU auction part 2, and that's it for me. Owen, your turn.
Hello, everyone. I'm Owen. I'm a staff assistant here at TRU and also the associate literary manager. And I'll be your question taker tonight. So if you have any questions for our panelists, please either message me or just drop them in the general chat. I'll make sure to mark them and make sure that they're asked as soon as we open it up to questions. So thanks everyone for being here tonight.
So you won't take on the title of Voice of God anymore, huh? All right. We've moved past that, have we? Patrick Blake, I know you from somewhere.
Yes, probably from the board meetings that I go to every so often.
That's it.
I'm Pat Blake in San Francisco, member of the TRU board, artistic director of Rhymes Over Beats, a hip hop theater collective, and we are currently working on a production called The Falling Season about Master Ace who grew up in Brooklyn in the 90s. And the challenge.
I didn't hear the title. What was the title?
Oh, The Falling Season.
The Falling Season.
Yes, it's a hip hop musical about growing up in Brooklyn in the 90s. And Bedford-Stuyvesant, to be specific.
And this has been a pet project of yours for quite a while, so congratulations on getting this far.
Thank you.
I know it's not easy. Don Loftus, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Don Loftus. I'm a playwright and lyricist in New York City. My pet project is currently a musical called Illusion, a bio showbiz kind of thing about Julian Altinge, who at one time was the highest paid entertainer in the world and today has been totally forgotten. So we're hoping to do we're rewriting it now. We had a workshop last fall. We're rewriting it and re-editing it, and hopefully we'll do an equity stage workshop this coming spring.
Thanks, Don. Dan Seidman, unmute yourself.
Hello, one and all. I'm Dan Seidman. I'm a composer for the show Fifth Avenue. We just did a reading, which went along really well for the York Theater. And then we recorded the whole show, the whole presentation that we did. So that's my update.
That's good. Good to hear it. It's moving along. It's interesting for me. I mean, it's exciting for me because I've known a lot of you for longer than shutdown days. But I mean, just on these community gatherings, I've been seeing projects that have actually made it forward and people that are actually making their dreams happen. So congratulations to all of us. We're doing it. Michael DiGaetano.
Hi there, how you doing? It's cold outside. Lyricist, librettist, composer, book writer, etc. Member of BMI workshops. My pet, I have 2 pets. My play location, and my musical pet, Miss Humanity, a Hollywood tale of the 7 deadly sins, except for sloth. We're going to be Theater Now is doing a new series at the room below Soho Playhouse. And we're going to be presenting about a half hour of the music on January 12th, and then preparing for Equity Showcase in March.
Well, congratulations on the movement forward. Sandy Silverberg.
Hi, all. I'm Sandy Silverberg. I'm TRU board chair, and I am a producer. I'm producing my late wife's play called The Way Out, and I am a newly minted singer-songwriter. My first album was released last month, and you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. It's called No Regrets, and it's under the band name Gen2, Gentoo.
Sandy, remind me to tell you, I did have a conversation with Gail Waxenberg, and I have a suggestion. So we'll
Great.
talk later. Susan Crawford.
Hello, playwright, librettist, lyricist, and collaborator with Dan Seidman on Fifth Avenue, and ever thankful to R.K. Green for his stewardship of our project forward. And it's now, after the reading we had, being considered for the next level at York Theater, but not a definite thing. We have to sort of re-audition.
Yep, I probably know why. By the way, Paul, thanks for being with us. I'm going to get to you and introduce you with Robert when Robert comes in later. So I appreciate your being part of this today. Catherine Keats.
Hello. I'm Catherine Keats. I'm happy to be living in New York, in Brooklyn now. And I am starting to meet with people about the hummingbird and the possibility of maybe doing it here. And I want to give a shout out to, where did you go? Well, anyway, that's all I have to say today. Okay, my brain just left.
And the next time you talk about doing the hummingbird here, say it less tentatively, because I want to see that happen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, cool. Okay, bye.
Conrad.
Hello,
Hi, my
Mike.
name's Conrad Asklund, and I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm a music director with Cirque du Soleil, currently on the touring show Crystal. And I'm excited to share that last month my music hit the threshold of 1.5 billion streams, which I'm really excited about. And I'm still hoping that there's someone who would like to look at my last musical called Pray the Gay Away, a story about gay conversion therapy, which went on stage right before the pandemic in November 2019.
Okay, Conrad. And by the way, we have two Conrads in the room. One's the first name, one's the last name. We'll get to the other Conrad shortly. Lee Roscoe, you're up now.
So I'm here on Cape Cod, and my pet project is needing a boost. It's the Men or Stalking Random Pastels. It's about a love affair that is being subtly destroyed by white supremacists. It deals with misogyny, bigotry, and believe it or not, it has a certain lyrical, impressionistic, rondo, balletic tone.
So does it have anything political about it?
Gee, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it totally does. I'm totally a political writer.
Apolitical.
No, I am a political writer.
Apolitical writer. James Simon, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, I've been busy. Thank you very much for having me. And hello, everyone. James Simon in lovely Manhattan. And my pet project, although it's a very big pet, is I'm co-producing with Kilberg Reedy on the new Broadway transfer, I should say, of a little show called Operation Mincemeat.
Ah, you were the person doing that. I hear about Operation Mincemeat all the time.
Yes, the Olivier-winning Best Musical from last season, and we're bringing it in with the original London cast. Coming to the Golden Theater. We start performances February 15th. Happy to say first preview is sold out. And opening night is March 20th at the Golden. So we're terribly excited about it. It's gonna be it's the craziest. If you don't know Operation Mincemeat, in a nutshell, it's the unbelievable true story how a dead body saved World War II.
Okay, leave it at that.
It's funny. It's hysterical. The cast album's available on all streaming services. You can get on our mailing list and get all the early word about advance tickets because I think this is gonna do well. I'm really excited.
Okay, a question. Is it David Paczewski? Is that you or is that Robert Carroll? You're a little dark. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
No, it's me, Bob. Hi.
David.
Yes, David. The assembly
Okay.
member is on his way.
Okay, good. Welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself and say hello to everybody? Since
Sure. I'm David Pachevsky. I'm the legislative director for Assemblymember Robert Carroll. We were here in Assemblymember represents the 44th district in the New York State Assembly of Brooklyn. And he will be joining us to talk about our affordable art space legislation and other subjects, right?
absolutely,
Right, Bob? But we're thrilled to be here, and yeah, the Assembly member is looking forward to getting on. He's running from an event, but he's excited to be participating.
well, we're excited to have him. Thank you so much. Just so everybody knows, assuming he arrives at 5:30, I'm gonna have to stop intros and introduce him because he has limited time. Arlene Corsano, a quick hi to you.
Hi, how are you? And I'm fine over here in New Jersey, where I think about 2 weeks ago I did a show, my Wild Woman show, that takes place in the 1920s, and everybody wants to come again. When are you doing it again? I said in New York, which I have plans. I'm recasting, and I'm also working towards getting somebody to help because I am like the reluctant producer of my newest Rose show, which is plan on taking to Don't Tell Mom is the first place in New York.
Okay, Arlene, I just want to let Michael Colby know that no, we can't see you on camera, but we're happy to have you here. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to get to you in terms of introducing yourself. We'll move to Rosemary Brandwine to see how many people I can get through before we start.
Thank you, Bob. I am a playwright, and I just recently produced a project with Honor Roll called The Invisibility Project, Women on the Verge, which was a festival that did really quite well. And hopefully we might do it again next year because people just love the show. My pet project that I'm working on right now in mid-January, I have one of my plays is going to have a staged reading at La Mama. So that's what I'm looking forward to right now.
And Michael Colby, we can see you now. Next up, though, is Janet Conrad, the other Conrad.
It's the other Conrad. Hi, everyone. My pet project is Time One, which is the first of one of my plays that I've received about 4 grants for that are STEM related plays where the characters, it comes to pass, they talk about fundamental aspects of science or mathematics or logic that can really be understood in a way that couldn't, the hope is to generate interest, but they're just embedded in the natural conversation of the characters in all of the plays. And this one is about special relativity.
Well, good to hear about that. I'm glad you're doing that. Elizabeth Copeland, your turn. Where are you? Are you in?
I'm in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, of course, of course.
Yes, of course. Now that it's cold everywhere else, I'm here. I'm Elizabeth Copeland, playwright, producer, screenwriter, and just glad to be back in a little bit of a routine. My play, Grief Dialogues, The Experience, went extremely well, and we've got all kinds of opportunities. I'll have more about that in January. And I'm actually working, I'm a book writer for a musical, and lots of fun things happening. So thanks, Bob.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being part of us. Cheryl Davis, thanks for being part of us. Thanks for co-founding TRU with me.
Okay, now you've preempted the beginning of my presentation, but I am pleased to be the vice president of TRU and a board member. My day career is the general counsel of the Authors Guild. In my copious free time, I write plays and musicals. And most recently, I am working on a brand new Black soap opera that will be airing on CBS starting February 24th, 2025 at 2 p.m. So please, everyone, turn in and watch. We want to make this show a hit.
Wow.
Oh, Tamara Tooney is one of the stars.
Who is Tamara? I love Tamara. If you see her,
Carla Mosley. Yeah.
Send her my love. If you actually see her.
Well, I hope to go down to set. If we're shooting in Atlanta, I hope to go down to set and actually see her. I've been emailing her in the interim.
Okay, so we got Robert Carroll just came in. I just want to. We'll start in a second, but I want to also make sure. Hi, Robert. Welcome. I want to just make sure that we can see you and we can see you. And do you want to just say a quick hi so I know that your mic is okay?
Sure. Good evening. I'm Assemblymember Robert Carroll. Nice to be on.
Thank you for being here. We're going to just meet a few more people and start at 5:30. So Sue Horowitz, you're next.
Uh, okay, hi, I'm Sue Horowitz, and my passion project is Rainbow to Oz, the musical. And I'm happy to report that I just got my first donation through my fiscal sponsor, TRU. So I got a donation, and yay for TRU. And 2025 is the 125th anniversary of the publication of the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So I'm planning regular events throughout 2025 to celebrate Rainbow to Oz. And actually, I started working with Scarlett Antonia as a producer and open to other producers. And we're doing really well. And I keep promoting it through my Instagram videos, which regularly get several thousand views.
Okay, Sue, I'm gonna have to stop you because I want to meet more people before we
Oh, so
bring
sorry.
on
Okay,
Robert and Paul. That's okay. Stephanie, a quick hi.
A quick hi. I'm an actor and I'm happy to be here tonight. Glad to see all of you.
Ginny, you're up next. You know, Ginny reminds me, I should tell everybody, does everybody know that we just got a $25,000 grant from NISCA? So we are very happy. We also found out 2 days ago that we're getting from another small foundation is giving us $10,000. So we're ending the year on a big bang because we also had our benefit on November 17th, and it did relatively well there too. So feeling my Cheerios here, feeling my oats. So next up, where was I? I was at Stephanie. Ginny, did I cut you off? I cut you off.
I was just going to say I'm here because I write grants for you and other nonprofits, and we just got the NISCA, which you just said, and I figured I should listen to this conversation because this is what I'm trying to do for you.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for all you do. You've been effective. In 2 years, you've been very effective. So thank
Excellent.
you.
You're welcome.
Stephanie Grayson.
Hey, everyone. Happy Freezing Friday and to all the other New Yorkers. My name is Stephanie, theater enthusiast always, and a sometimes theater minor investor and associate producer. Nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you. And I'm going to just give a quick hello to Kate McLeod, who's a writer friend of ours, and Kip Koenig, who I'm going to see who we're going to see tomorrow at our Essentials of Self-Producing workshop. Tita Ontario's dear friend and playwright. John Ewing, producer down outside of New York. You're in what's the state? Georgia? No, where are you?
South Carolina.
South Carolina, the southern states. You know, I'm a Yankee. What do I know? So welcome here to you from South Carolina. You just disappeared. I don't know where you are. There you are. Michelle Reese, who's a writer friend, and Charlene, who's an actress friend of ours. Ludmila, who was with us when she introduced me to Cheryl Davis, which led to us founding TRU. Michael Colby, a writer who has, I know, Michael, you wanted to put out to the room that you're doing a show at Urban Stages. Quickly tell us about that and put the link into the chat. Okay. No, you're muted. Okay, I'm going to tell everybody. He's producing something. I think it's part of the Winter Rhythms at Urban Stages, and it's going to be 2 days. 2 days. I think this weekend. God, I hope I'm getting this right because he can't talk and I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Owen, did you happen to see his info in the chat? We want you to come and support him. We want you to come see his shows. And he also has just been made. He's part of Urban Stages now. Anyway, next, Broadway actress and somewhat of a legend, Mimi Turk. Good to have you here. Melissa Bell, self-producing playwright. You do self-produce? Nah. Okay, she's a playwright. She just gets produced all the time. Carla Hoke Miller from the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. She's going to be our guest in 2 weeks, by the way. She's going to be with us on I think it's the 20th. It's the 20th. And so hi to Tony Hart and Gary Hughes and Paul Smith. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put myself on what's it called, Spotlight. And I'm going to do a little intro for our YouTube channel, and you can all stay online. You can keep your videos on. I'm going to bring Robert and Pete and Paul on and highlight once I finish my opening remarks. Now I'll slow down. Hi, everybody. It's Bob Ost. Welcome to the TRU Community Gathering. It's Friday, December 6th. I never remember the date. I'm always working like 3 months ahead on things, so I never know what date it is today. So anyway, we've been doing this since April 17th, 2020 during shutdown. We opened up the Zoom room so we could create a community and have people feel less isolated during what turned out to be 4 years. We thought it was going to be a couple months, didn't we? So I've actually been doing these community gatherings consecutively. This is about our 237th or 238th consecutive meeting with interesting people who I invite in to talk about various aspects of theater and the arts in general. I'm going to bring on my guests right away because I know that we have State Assembly Member Robert Carroll, who has limited time, and so we're very honored to have him with us. He's going to be telling us a little bit about some initiatives that he has created, and one of them has been with Paul Leibowitz from IndieSpace, and also a new company you call Plot, right, Paul? Yep. So, Paul, let me introduce you first. So, tell us a little bit about your background. You don't just do. You're from the nonprofit world. You're from the business world.
Yes, I have a 30.
I'm not accusing you. I'm just mentioning it.
We can talk about it. I have a 30-year career in New York City real estate. I also co-founded IndieSpace, which is a not-for-profit that celebrates and centers independent theater making in New York City. So I co-founded that in 2015. We have 4 pillars of work: real estate, funding, community resources, and advocacy. And I can talk about that. And I've recently started Plot, which is a new real estate advisory practice to partner with renters and owners to find and develop new, inventive, and vibrant spaces for New York City's creatives. So I'm going to be focusing on that.
So I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to take myself off the spotlight for a second, and then I'm going to put myself back on so that I can be at the bottom of the screen and you guys can be at the top. There we are. So that's a much better picture for YouTube. So all of you out there in YouTube land, see how I think about you. I think about the visuals for you. So Robert, I want to introduce you as well. Now I know that I want you to tell us a little bit about your road to politics, because many of us think about it and not many of us do it. And I know that you have a background in the arts and specifically not-for-profit. So tell us a little bit about what you did before you sort of tiptoed in. Well, you didn't tiptoe, you just jumped right in. You jumped right into politics.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Bob. But yeah, before I ran for the Assembly in 2016, for a long time, I had worked in independent theater, doing some fundraising, doing some acting, and doing some writing. I had a play that I wrote called The Believers, which was produced by the Storm Theater Company and was nominated for a bunch of innovative independent theater awards. And that was a really fulfilling experience. I studied
So,
theater.
Robert, let me ask you: the Storm Theater, are they the ones that produce Way Uptown?
They did at that point on 114th Street.
Yeah, I've been there.
They were at 46th Street when I first got with them, between 6th and 7th Avenue, where the American Globe Theater was as well. But when they produced The Believers, it was on 114th Street, right by Columbia University. I also did some work with the Alchemy Theater Company in Manhattan. And look, I was a theater major in college as well as a history major. I know so many people who are still in the independent theater world. I think it is a phenomenal community, and it makes New York vibrant, and it very much makes New York what it is today, right? I don't think New York would be New York without live theater and live performance. And so that's one of the reasons this bill we're going to talk about today, the New York City Art Space Act, that Paul and Randy at IndieSpace, really helped craft with us, is, I think a really important piece of legislation that if we're able to get passed, hopefully it will help independent theater artists in particular be able to thrive in the city as we're converting old office space to residential units. I hope that we can convert some of that space as well to independent art space, affordable independent art space. And so, I'm a lover of theater and of performance. And so, really excited to be on this call. I wish a call like this, when I was more involved, was around. I think it's a phenomenal place to get different people together to know what's going on in the city. And so thank you, Bob, for being a host and bringing so many people together.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. I mean, it's not hard to it's not easy to get politicians on the show. I've done it. I've gotten Eric Botcher on twice. And,
Eric's a great guy.
Yeah, he is. He is a great guy. We actually, I was two or 3 years ago when I had him on, I was saying to him, why, with all these buildings that have been converted, why can't some of that space be used for the arts? And we were talking about that. So thank you so much for actually articulating this and putting it into a bill. Now, I'm going to ask you a tough question. What do you have to do to get a bill like this passed?
Well, that is the $64,000 question, right? There are a lot of good ideas and some bad ideas in Albany, but actually getting it done and actually getting it into law is the most important thing. And so I think, what we're trying to do, and we had a great kind of kickoff to this bill to bring some people from the arts community at the Bushwick Star. We're here today. And I think we want this to be a ground up movement, that if assembly members and state senators are hearing from independent artists from their community saying, you know what, it's great that we're trying to create more affordable housing. Obviously, we need it in New York. But if we don't look at ways to incentivize unique, incentivize art space and incentivize affordable art space, we're going to lose what makes New York unique. And, if every time you walk down 6th Avenue or Broadway, or you're on Bedford Avenue in Williamsburg, or you're on Lafayette Street or Flatbush or wherever you are, if everything is just homogenized and it's the same kind of 25 chain stores that you see everywhere, you're going to say, well, just a second, what makes this neighborhood? What gives this neighborhood character? What gives this neighborhood what it takes? And we know that when you go out to see dance or theater, or you go to a studio space, that brings new people from all over the city, all over the region, who are going to spend money, not just there, but maybe go to a restaurant or a bar afterwards, meet a friend. It creates a vibrant ecosystem. And we also know that it is impossible. We don't want to be a static city, right? We don't want to be a city where, yeah, sure, there's the Metropolitan Museum and there's Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall, and there are a couple of Disney shows on Broadway, and that's the art scene, right? That's Las Vegas, right? I don't think we want that. And I think, what makes New York interesting is that there are so many diverse people bringing interesting projects to bear. This hopefully, and I know as somebody who worked very closely with two independent theater companies, I said before, the Storm Theater and the Alchemy Theater Company, and worked with some others, did some acting with some others from time to time. I remember I was in plays on East 4th Street. I was on plays on 46th Street, on 53rd Street, 114th Street, on the Lower East Side. Some of the spaces were amazing. Some of the spaces were not so great. But every single one of those companies, no matter who I was working with, space was an issue. And it was always an issue. It was a huge expense. It was a huge stressor. People didn't know where their next space was. People were itinerant and had to move, which, if you've got a small company, you know how difficult that is.
Well, Robert, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna give you a breather for a second. I want to talk about Paul. Did you bring the idea to Robert, or did Robert already have it, or how did the idea come to be? What was your
Yeah,
role
it
in
came
it?
to be from Robert and David, who approached Randy and myself about a draft bill they were proposing, which obviously we were really supportive of, and for all the reasons Robert is saying, which was really articulated quite well. And we made a lot of just recommendations and kind of changing the foundation or the framework of it. And really myself worked on the financial analysis that would, convince that this should be a win-win for both the arts community and the real estate community, and that this will actually result in a lot of arts and culture spaces in these conversions. So, we helped develop the analysis and the framework of the bill, and helped in its drafting. But it came about really from Robert and David approaching us. I mean, and we were like really enthusiastic to hear they were considering such a bill, and Randy and I were obviously excited that they approached us, because we always talked about it forever about community facility space. Why aren't there bills that are just dedicated?
I think we all have had these conversations.
Yes, I mean, it's been
We've been
constant.
talking about this for years.
Yeah, and I'm a believer. I mean, I'm working on a lot of conversion projects over my career. It's perfect because there's a lot of quote dead space or challenging space in these conversions that would be suitable for an arts user, a theater user. And I think it's a brilliant solution.
Somebody sent me an article, Tita, who's in the room, sent me an article earlier, a 2023 study. I think it was a national study, and it came up with what to me was very surprising statistic that I think it was 86% of the American public around the country all are in favor of the arts, and all think that there needs to be more arts happening. 51% of that 86% said that they didn't think there were enough opportunities for people to experience the arts in their communities and in their areas. So we also know that the arts is a $1 billion industry for New York. So there were so many reasons why we should be, we as artists and theater makers, why we should be recognized and we should be supported. And yet, how many politicians do we have in the city, Robert, who have a background? May I call you Robert? Is that okay?
You can call me Bobby, but
Bobby,
Robert,
okay.
right?
Bobby's fine, because I was a Robert when I was a kid, but I'm a Bob now. So what is it? I interrupted my own thoughts. What was I saying?
How many people in politics have a background at all in theater?
In the arts, yeah. I mean, I don't see this very often. And a lot of people that I know who have run for office who have been from an arts background have not necessarily won those races. So I see you as a rarity. Are you a rarity? Am I wrong?
Look, I mean, I think there's a diverse set of folks in the legislature. There are some people who definitely have backgrounds in some way or another, and I don't want to puff up my chest and pretend, I've got some amazing, illustrious background in the arts. I definitely did a bunch of work there, but
no, you're from the trenches. We love you because you're from the trenches.
But look, one of the things that makes when legislatures do good work is that there are people who have a diversity of experience and backgrounds and jobs and viewpoints, because that helps then allow us to get a better picture of society as a whole. And so I think we do need more people. I know that there are at varying levels people who've had different backgrounds in arts or in culture. But yeah, I think there could be more. Too often, the political class in both parties are people who are kind of complete careerists. That they start very, very young, working in government, and then they kind of slowly move their way up the ladder. Some of them getting into elected office, others getting into kind of higher, more appointed roles.
I
And
think
so
for
the
a lot
only,
of them, the arts is just an idea. It's nothing
yeah,
that they've actually been immersed in, and so they don't have a real stake in thrusting more support, thrusting arts into the spotlight. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but my impression over I'm an old dude, but over many decades, I rarely hear politicians talk about the arts. It's just so infrequent. They talk about, and like you sort of suggested earlier, yes, housing is important. All sorts of things are really important. I don't say that we're more important, but I would like to think that in some ways we could be considered equally important in many ways, and yet I don't hear us getting the same airtime.
well, Bob, they don't understand it, right? And what I think they especially don't understand is they don't understand, independent art spaces and independent artists who are, a very unique class unto themselves, right? They might go meet with the Broadway League, right? They may go meet
Yeah.
with the board of directors at MoMA. These are great places too, but what they don't realize is that there's an ecosystem. And if you don't allow for that ecosystem to kind of have to be, again, have small and independent actors, medium-sized actors, large actors, it'll fail. And I don't think we want that. We don't want to see, a place that's kind of propped up with some very large actors and there's kind of nothing underneath it. I think that would make New York a much less interesting place. And so, I mean, that's why we're doing this. And, I think it makes good sense, right? Why there's lots of spaces. Paul said, I do want to Paul showed me up here and gave a good shout out to my great legislative director, Dave Pachevsky, who really is critical in helping shape this idea as we go forward. And Paul and Randy, of course, at IndieSpace were very good at some technical amendments as we were working to craft this bill. But there's a lot of space. We talk ad nauseum about some of these old office buildings that no longer are really being used and how we can get some much needed housing there. And I like that conversation, but we know that there are thousands and thousands of square feet in these buildings that, aren't going to become housing. And if we allow them to sit just on the open market, they'll become a Rite Aid, a big box store, or just sit empty.
Starbucks.
So
I'll put my money on Starbucks.
And, or a Bank of America kiosk. And, New York City doesn't need any more Starbucks, Bank of America kiosks, CVS's. And so if we can find a way to incentivize these owners to say, yeah, you should rent this to a theater company, a dance company, create a studio space, allow for this to be a public good, allow for a theater artist to also have real security, right? This bill will allow people to have multi-year leases at truly affordable rates, which would be, not the first time ever in New York, but would it be a real boon, I think, to the arts community. And the fact, right, the other great thing about this bill is that we're talking about converting buildings in core Manhattan. And so, of course, this gives the opportunity for artists. You were talking about the Storm Theater that had a great space on 46th Street, got pushed up to Columbia. It's a great neighborhood, but got pushed up there, not nearly as convenient, right? What would be great for an independent theater, for a dance company, for a studio space, if it's below 60th Street in Manhattan? That's going to give you the opportunity to get a lot more people to come and see your work and give you opportunity that it's going to be fantastic. And it's going to be great, to walk up. I was on 6th Avenue and about 19th Street the other day, and there's a bunch of empty, old, vacant stores that used to be kind of big box stores. Well, wouldn't it be great if you walked up 6th Avenue and 19th Street and suddenly there was some new theater that you never knew about? What wouldn't it be great if there was a great studio space, right? Like, that's going to make New York a place that someone says, that's why I live here. That's why I want to stay here. Not, oh, great, there's a double-decker Starbucks, so I can get a Frappuccino. Like, I mean,
one of my favorite games.
Anywhere.
One of my favorite games is walking down the street, looking at like buildings that have closed, and going, "That'd make a good theater. That'd make a good theater." I do the "that'd make a good theater" game all the time. Have you guys ever worked with Anita Durst? And have you ever talked to Anita? Because her whole Shashama mission is not the same as yours, but it's sort of connected. It's sort of contiguous to what you're doing.
Yeah. Shashama, they take space or underutilized space. A lot of it is in the Durst portfolio, but a lot of it, is great because it's street level storefront space, and they allow artists to use it temporarily. So yeah, this bit is more on a temporary basis, their vision or model, whereas this bill will force, by definition of the bill, a long-term lease for the user. But yeah, it's along the same lines. I wish Shashama had more spaces. I think it's a great thing they're doing.
So tell us, Paul, what made you decide to start in IndieSpace? And let's talk a little bit about IndieSpace.
Yeah, I knew Randy. Randy Berry, I've known her 22 years, and we were working in real estate together. She was part of the team I was working at CBRE. I was on an investment sales team there, capital markets team, and I just was involved in her theater company. I was born and raised in New York and went to the theater, but I can't admittedly say I was a theater person. I really came at it just because New York's my religion. And I just know that arts are critical to the vibrancy of New York. I know it's a main reason why people live here. And, for all the reasons we've just been talking about, just to maintain how interesting it is. And I love the community because I think it was underrepresented, but of such a magnitude that I think, just people didn't recognize how large the community was, or actually how undersupported it was. From my perspective,
you might know this, Paul, because this is an old statistic, but I think it was pre-shutdown. The average theater season had about 60 shows that would play in Broadway, maybe 100 to 200 that were off Broadway, and over 1,000 showcases and independent productions. Do you know a statistic similar to that? I'm remembering this from like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know what I see a lot. I don't know what the statistic is now, but is that dated? I'm not sure when that was, but that sounds about right. But I'm not sure if that's accurate.
It's probably around 2017, 2018.
Yeah, what's amazing is that Randy and I go to so many venues, so many shows, and just there's always a time where Randy and I talk like, "Oh, I didn't know about that venue," or it always pops up. It's kind of funny every few months. Oh, what is that place? So it's also, I love things that are just, personal level, that are just unique to New York, whether it's Soho architecture or independent theater. And I just felt like there's so many misconceptions. I think that people who are not touching or relating to artists think how they can survive. I also felt like this is a community that really needs support. I think there's always a misconception among some New Yorkers that, the artist, they'll just figure it out. If they're an artist, they'll figure it out. But I think over time, having been raised here in the 70s to 80s, it's then, if, artists maybe were living on the detritus of some of what was happening in New York, but then, displacement was happening so rapidly. So those are all like kind of the rambling reasons why I founded IndieSpace. And so that was in 2015, and it's grown nicely since. And most of the credit, is really Randy Berry, who's grown it. And
So how many was it? Just you and Randy? Because if I go on your website,
yeah, just myself and Randy, we were the co-founders. I actually founded it together. He used to run. He now operates under St. Mark's. He had 3 theaters, and most recently he had the Crane under St. Mark's. So he was a founder of it too.
Who did you say that was? What was
Erez Ziv.
Oh, I love him. He's been.
Yeah, he's terrific. Yeah, he's a definition of a match.
He's the Fringe Fest. He does the Fringe.
Yeah, he's doing well. Yeah, so he doesn't unfortunately have the Crane anymore because he stopped that lease. But and then a couple of years ago, we merged with the Indie Theater Fund, which was just a separate and organization to create a larger organization that kept the IndieSpace name. And we have a staff of 4, and we have lots of programs, and one of it is a free real estate advisory and consulting program. And
so I just want to give you a thank you, Paul, because you underplay your connection to the arts somewhat. But I have to tell you that it might come to a surprise to you that a lot of artists don't have a great business head, and so the arts can't survive without people like you supporting us and guiding decisions that people are making. So you're doing good stuff. Thanks. So what can we do? Do you want to tell us any more about the bill? I mean, I think we understand basically what the bill is. We don't know what we can do to help you get it passed, and we don't know what else we can bring to the table as artists that can possibly influence the way things are in our city and our state. So how can we be political? How can we jump in? What can we do?
Well, so the first thing you can do is reach out to your local assembly member or state senator and ask them to co-sponsor the bill. And as we work with IndieSpace and other groups, I think there'll be lobbying opportunities, whether it's in New York City or up in Albany on a session day. And so we would love to stay in touch with all of you to see if folks can come up and talk about how we can get this done, and that if we've created this tax structure to convert these office buildings, that is happening. There's no reason why we could not pass this bill and give this further incentive to create truly and deeply affordable art space, throughout these buildings as well. And it's something that I think can happen. And hearing directly from the arts community that will benefit from it, I think would be highly powerful. One of the things that we were able to do, and there were there were multiple bills around New York's loft laws and making sure that those artists could stay and be made legal and be given protections. That was because lots and lots of people who were in those spaces came to Albany and were very thoughtful lobbyists and thoughtful advocates for that cause. So I'd be happy to work with all of you, to work with IndieSpace, work with others to figure out ways to get independent artists talking to state assembly members and state senators so that they can hear how this will impact people in their communities.
Well, thank you for that. Again, I'm going to sort of tread lightly into controversy, but it is many of our impression that the election that we just had is not going to be particularly good for the arts. Do you want to agree, disagree? How safe is New York right now in terms of our maintaining our values? And the other thing that's so difficult about this, we live in a country that was based on the premise that 1,000 different people from 1,000 different places could find common ground, and we're finding that that's less and less feasible than we used to think it was. New York, we may be in a bubble. I'm not sure, but I do think that there are enough of us that we have common values and common belief in the arts and a common belief in a way of life. Do you think that's going to be affected by what's going on in the country?
Well, look, obviously, it is a major blow that Donald Trump won a month ago, and is a real is a major concern. I'm not going to pretend that is going to make life any easier, and I think there are real risks and real issues, whether reproductive freedom, migrant issues, environment. There are a whole host of issues that I think are deadly serious. There are, in New York, we have supermajorities in both houses of Democrats. We have a Democratic governor. We have we passed Prop 1, which is our Equal Rights Amendment, to codify our equal rights protections that were already law in New York, to codify things like a woman's right to choose, to protect transgender individuals, to protect undocumented individuals. So, there's a lot that we are doing. I think one of the things that New York has to do in these very trying times is show why it's a great beacon of hope and opportunity for our country and for the world. And one of those things that we can do is show why New York is this absolute lighthouse for all types of people from across the world who've had ideas, who were hardworking, who were creative, to come and make a better life. And that's New York at its best, whether it's you want to go into business or to media or to the arts or to something else. There's opportunity here. I think what we need to do is we need to be our best selves, because if we rest on our laurels and we atrophy, the problem is there'll be less people that will look to us to lead the way. And so I really do think New York has an opportunity here to show how it can be done and how we can, yes, bring 1,000 different people from 1,000 different places and show that we can get along and build a stronger, better, more vibrant society. And so, of course, I think arts is an integral part of that. And so, I am confident. I've got 2 little kids. I have to be also positive. I am positive. I think that, I have been in politics for a long time now too, and it is not a zero-sum game, even though sometimes it feels that way, and nothing is final, right? It is a forever green project, and that means that we're always going to be working at it, and we're going to have to continue to do that, and I think we're going to have to do also a better job of showing people why our values and why our points of views should win out. And I think that that's for a very different type of podcast of how one can make that messaging or how one can show that those points of views
it could be this
more
podcast.
powerful.
It could be.
Well, I'll say this. It
was
then,
very
Robert.
moving, Robert. I just want to let you know.
Effective theater, right? Good effective theater shows the audience something. It doesn't just tell them. And good effective campaigns shows people what you're going to do and doesn't just tell them. It's not didactic. And I think that the Democratic Party has become too didactic. And you can't just tell people. You got to show them how you feel for them, how you're going to actually materially make their lives better. I think we can do that in New York, and I'm confident that we can do that.
I want to share my favorite homily. People have heard this before. I always say that politics is where people go to fight, and art is where people come together to listen. So, and you're actually saying to actually apply some of that to politics as well, to express ideas in a way that people can actually understand and them rather than being lectured, welcomed into the values that you hold so dear. Paul, I want to move to you on this. I want to see if you have any other thoughts, additional thoughts, or same thoughts about Robert said in terms of our vulnerability right now as a lighthouse for thousands and thousands of diverse people, and also as a lighthouse for the arts.
Yeah, I have similar thoughts. My general observation on the arts, I don't know specifically on the funding side. I think that's most of the concern is, will that be affected, but also will other impacts on New York City specifically, require New York to, increase its budget or some actually move money from other items on the budget from arts to other items. I mean, arts are not a huge part of the budget, but there's that concern. But I do feel like there's a lot of positives. I mean, one is just there's first and foremost, people want to create here. I mean, just there's always like a DIY space popping up for theater it seems, every few months. And I think artists still want to be here. Yes, it's very tough to live here for affordability. I focus a lot on the workspaces, not necessarily the housing side, but I have been involved in some affordable housing projects. But I do think, where it just very general is that it's really going to take a lot of collaboration and like obviously creative thinking. I don't know if there's going to be a specific solution, but I do think the art community is really geared for that, because I think in recent years that there's just been a lot more collaboration rather than just all these, like, particularly on the not-for-profit side, not-for-profits like in individual silos. I mean, there's been a lot of, whether it's like through the Cultural Solidarity Fund, which IndieSpace was involved in, which, raised $1 million to give back to artists. I mean, there's been all these efforts, and some of it after the pandemic.
I don't think so.
Okay, somebody's got to mute themselves. There
So
you go.
I mean, that's a very general thing, but I do feel it's just going to take a lot of, creativity. One reason I just also started Plot was to kind of look at more collective, collaborative real estate structures to kind of reduce operating costs for art organizations. How do we, have like collectives or co-ops? So, like, as an example, because I think a lot of times, whether it's a landlord or we just have this kind of nonprofit industrial complex that encourages these not-for-profits to like not speak to themselves. But I think that's kind of changed in my observation last 10 years. I'm not like immersed in it, but that's just my kind of peripheral view of there's a lot of advantages that, a lot of New York cultural institutions have in working together now that maybe they did not have 10 or 20 years ago. That could help.
Well, I'd love to know more about that. We're going to go to the room a little bit. First of all, Carla Hochmiller, you put a report on small theater industry from 2019. Do you know what's in that report so you could summarize it like in a couple sentences?
Sure. It was, we had about 100 people working with us on it, and it was a commissioned report, and it delved into trying to get some statistics for the input, the impact, both culturally and economic, of the small theater industry, every aspect of it in the city. And so we came up with, the contribution economically of, I think it was $500 million. God, I have to look at it again. A large number of jobs, and also just 750 organizations. And we studied the organizations that were some of them inside larger institutions, but mostly the independent theater industry. And we worked a lot with Randy and Paul on this. We had a lot of advisors that I've been in touch with. And what it helped do was give a foundation for people looking for funding and credibility, especially when COVID hit. And we kind of, position theaters as small businesses, and they should get all of the advantages, but weren't always categorized that way. So there was a lot of work that we did during the shutdowns about that, working with federal and state agencies on that. So I'm really,
I think that the government response to COVID, I thought, was very effective. I know that it saved a lot of companies, including ours. We were recipients of some kindnesses from the government. So I do think I think it's shifted the way funders view things, because I noticed that NISCA is asking different questions when we fill out our grant proposals than they asked before COVID. So I
they
think
do have a new leadership too, who is a theater person from Signature at one point, Erica Mallon, and she's very much a part of the theater community. So were those questions more pertinent, do you think?
For me, they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually understood how to answer some of them. So
Right.
I used to be like, what are they trying to get me to say?
Yeah, no, I think it's a real asset. I think that you should get Erica on, and I can help you with that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
But the work
Owen.
that I think it's so important, what Robert and Paul and Randy and everyone is doing, and we also have a council of 70 people in the theater and live performance industry that we started a year and a half ago. And there's 3 committees that just reported back to the first deputy mayor, who's now Maria Torres Springer, who's fabulous and gets a lot done. So we're happy to have her. And so I'll be on the 20th and talk more about all of this, but I also want to just kind of, we can pull a lot of people together to make that lobbying advocacy stronger and go to Albany together, to really.
Yeah, my friend,
real.
my board member Janelle Scarborough said somewhere along here that she'd be all up for putting together a van to go to Albany if we want to band together and head there. So we can look at that. We can look at making that happen maybe. Oh, and who else has been asking or making comments or?
Yeah,
Anyone?
sure. I've got a question from Kate McLeod. I don't quite understand it, but it's about could we get funding for site-specific work in unusual settings? Kate, if there's anything that you want to add to that, feel free to hop in.
Well, I think there is funding for site-specific.
Yes, there is funding for. Hi, this is Kate. Yeah, I was just thinking of, is there funding for site-specific plays in maybe not in New York City, but in other communities that might be not supported by the arts.
You probably have to put that through a company by company request. I think like a company like Farm Arts Collective, I think they do site specific work all over the place. And we had we had another company that just goes all over the place doing site specific work, and they do get funding. It's just a question of knowing where to go.
Okay.
And fiscal sponsors can help with like Fractured Atlas and NIF, NIFA. You can get a fiscal sponsor for some of your projects, and then you can use their 501c3 to get funding.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Who's next?
Next, we've got a question from Lee Roscoe. So how do all these indie artists get underwritten to fund the theater they may perform to pay the rent for the new spaces?
Well, that's a different issue. I think the whole point of what Robert and what Bobby and Paul are proposing is affordable space for the arts, affordable office space, affordable performance space. They haven't addressed yet housing for the arts, but yeah, the companies have to be able to afford something. I mean, free space for the arts is not really what's in the bill, although we wouldn't mind that, but I don't think that's a bill that could necessarily get through. Bobby, you have anything to?
No, I mean, look, Bob, I think you're right. Look, the bill is very clear. The space would have to start at $20 a square foot or less, and as that number gets lower, the incentive, the property tax rebate for the owner of the property becomes larger. But this is not a funding mechanism. I know that that's a huge issue, and how independent companies and independent artists can stay alive and how they can actually make ends meet. I get that that's a huge issue, but that's not what this bill is. I mean, I would love to see NISCA be funded at a significantly greater rate, right? I think the city of New York does a better job, through the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs of funding artists than NISCA. Neither are perfect. I think we could do a lot more for both, because we also know, right, a NISCA grant, I think you mentioned that you got a NISCA grant for $25,000. That means a lot more to you and other independent actors and artists than, a large institution getting hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars from the state. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't, I was integral in helping get millions of dollars for the Brooklyn Museum, which is in my district. I love the Brooklyn Museum. It's a phenomenal organization, but they're very different animals. We should be able to do both. But I think that's really saying, let's get more funding for NISCA. Let's get more funding for the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs. Let's get more funding or incentivize more people to donate to the arts or to provide for the arts. But that's not what this bill does.
So let me also just say that we need to realize that we need money to function, and I know that's a tough reality for a lot of us. However, people believe in what we do. Approach people. Who was it who just last week? I think somebody said to us, "You right now know everybody you need to know in order to fund your project." You probably know the people that you need to know in order to get support so that you can afford office space. If you're a theater company that has some years behind it and people that love what you do, we're also hesitant to ask for money, and how else? If you don't ask, you're not going to get. So I think Paul will tell you this. Paul probably has a lot of experience with this. You have to be able to just say, I need this. I need to get office space. Can you help us raise some money so that we can afford rents for a year? And part of what NISCA actually gave us money for was to cover our rent. Specifically, it was specifically designated for rental for a year. So, which that's one of the things that surprised me. I never could find that like before COVID. Pre-shutdown, I never saw that as a possibility in any application that I was filling out. But now all of a sudden it's like, we want to support your operations, your general operations. That's the shift that I saw personally. And anyone else? I'm sure we have people.
Yeah, we may have sort of answered this one in the last little bit, but this is from Rosemary Brandwine. This is the first salvo in assuring affordable space, which I commend you all for. But what about audience development and PR/advertising? Having a great space is wonderful, but artists need to be paid to perform a host of jobs related to theater. How can we expand this bill to include audience development, PR/advertising, etc., and pay people decently?
I will. Let me just spare Bobby the pain. You're not going to expand the bill to include all of that. What the question really is what can we do to try to get these other sorts of initiatives supported by our government, by us, the state government or the city government. I don't know whether you're ready. It's like, Bobby, this is sort of like saying to a woman that's giving birth, honey, we can't wait for the next baby. So this is basically, we need more. We need 10 of you, Bobby, because not everybody's going to be able to sponsor every one of those bills. Any thoughts about how we could, as a community, initiate something that would help support audience development and other aspects of theater that we need help with?
Look, I mean, I'm happy to talk to anybody in your circle. If somebody has an idea that we think can be law, right? Not all ideas are bills. Sometimes there's some things that we can do with funding in the state budget, but we would always be happy to sit down with folks and see if there's a framework that we can create that can make it easier for artists, whether they're performing artists, studio artists, whether it's you need office space, rehearsal space, or performance space, to make it easier to do the things that you do. I don't know if you'd want a law from the state of New York about audience development. I don't know how you would do that. I don't know how you would do, we do have great labor laws in New York. Are there specific parts of the labor law that we think disproportionately impact in a negative way performing artists? And so, okay,
yes, I will name them for you someday.
And so, like, that would be something I would love to work on with folks, right? That's how you would say, look, we can do these 3 things. This would make it better. Then we can do that. And I'd love to know more about that. And I think that's how you go about it. You've got to be strategic, and you've got to, kind of think out where one of the reasons why this bill has a possibility of passing is because we just passed this other law last year that allows for office conversions, creates a property tax rebate for office conversions. There is a subset of that space that will not become housing. And so now what we can do is, while the iron is hot, we can strike and say, hey, just a second, that other piece of space, let's not rent it out to Starbucks. We'll give you a further rebate if you provide truly affordable, deeply affordable studio space, rehearsal space, or performance space for independent artists. And so that in a nutshell is how things get done. So that's what I would say.
So Owen, we have 8 more minutes with Bobby. So and any other questions that you have in there?
Susan Crawford's had her hand up for a while. Let's hear from her.
Okay, Susan.
Oops, sorry. I just wrote the whole question in because I wasn't sure if you were taking questions. So, Bobby Carroll, I have not met you, but I feel like I know you through Debbie Meyer and all the work you've done with her on behalf of dyslexic students. And so I just want to weave it into this discussion by saying anything that you are doing in preparing legislation for the school system on behalf of the arts, it's really important to point out how much learning of other abled students need the arts as an outlet, because it's often thought of by, Department of Education people and state education people as an afterthought, and always an after school type of thing. But it's a huge release. I have 2 dyslexic sons, and it was so important for them to have art classes and music classes and other classes. So I pass that on to you, and thank you for all the work you're doing for all of us.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's really nice to meet you. We do a lot of work on education in my office. We do a lot of work around dyslexia and literacy. I struggled with dyslexia when I was a student. And, look, what we know that there are so many ways to skin a cat. And there's so many, all of our children are so kind of creative and have different skills and opportunities. The arts, of course, is the same. And, there are so many people in the performing arts who struggled with dyslexia and other things. And so couldn't agree with you more, Susan. Thanks so much for bringing that up. And say hi to Debbie for me. Debbie's great.
Yes.
And I want to put in a vote for finding ways of getting more support for arts education, because that's where it all starts. That's basically where it all starts. That's the underpinning that is, I think, it's missing from our country, because our country doesn't have the same respect for the arts that a lot of other countries do. And I think it starts at the student level. It starts in schools. Tita, you have your hand up. You're gonna have to turn your mic on. We can hear you better with the mic on.
Yeah, I have a question, but I'm also interested in John Ewing's question about positioning Broadway as a large corporation. My question is just how did IndieSpace and Plot, how do they help all this collaboration? But check out John Ewing's question too.
Okay, well, let's go with your question first.
I can
Since she wants to know more.
I can answer that about IndieSpace. Most of what IndieSpace does is about community. We just had our annual Big Give event on Monday, which gives out this year we gave out 65 $1,000 grants that are really just pulled out of a hat. They're called Pay Your People grants. We do like anything from mental health micro grants. We also have starting 2023, a little venue that could grant, gave out 13 grants of $10,000 each. Again, these are supported by foundations and some of our funders from 2023 to 2004. So we always try to bring together the community and are always open, whatever ideas to kind of collaborate with as many theater groups as possible. From a real estate perspective, a lot of times our advisory and consulting practice within IndieSpace, we first look at if someone's struggling with the space, and they're acting as a landlord because they're not doing their own work. They're tending to rent it out, and we're struggling. Like, how is it we can foster some collaboration and utilize these spaces more efficiently? We operate a West Village rehearsal co-op, catty corner from the Whitney. We have a max charge of $10 an hour on rehearsal space. And we're going to be opening in a few years a space in Hell's Kitchen, which will have 3 rehearsal space workspaces, a lounge for our community as well. So that will be, when we surveyed and talked to our community, like during COVID, post-COVID, so much of what they were talking about, of course, was affordability, housing, space, all these issues that are coming up tonight, but also having homes, having a home that they, a place that they can collaborate together and go to. So we hope that Hell's Kitchen space particularly provides that.
Okay, Bobby, I'm correct. You have to leave at 6:30, correct?
I do. I have 2 very young sons who I need to help put to bed. And so I gotta get home. But it's been wonderful talking with both of you.
Paul, do you have a little
Is there? I see. There's one final question, maybe.
No, we have like 10 questions.
Oh, okay,
so many
okay.
Charlene, did you want to ask your question?
I wrote it in the chat, but I found in the past when I used to produce a little bit on a very small scale, but I accessed people that I actually knew that. And I worked at this nightclub and I knew some of the members and I reached out to them personally. So I'm wondering if there's a public roster of businesses that are very theater friendly that I could, or anybody else could access. And then I look through the board of directors and I see if there's anybody that I might actually know and then approach them on a personal basis. And I've always found that actually is the best way. Because then they have a relationship with you.
So is there any such resource? You want to put one together, Paul?
Yeah, no, I don't know that. I mean, but it kind of connected to that. We kind of talked about like audience development a little bit. I mean, I always thought, Randy's always tired of me drawing parallels with the art, the gallery system, but I know they're for profit. But, for example, you just get the Seesaw app. You can see everything at once. They have art fairs wherever. I mean, Basil's going on right now in Miami. There's art fairs twice a year in New York. So there's these gatherings that really, I think, kind of, incubate those connections. And, I wish we could kind of start something along those lines within IndieSpace. We've always thought to do a little bit more of, our ambition is to have something where it's particularly for independent theater, like going to it is not so opaque. I think that's maybe a first step. I mean, after all, when I really started going to a lot of shows, it's like, where do I start? It's not the easiest, I think, on certain theater. So I think that's a start. I don't think there's necessarily a list on what was just mentioned.
It doesn't have to be global, just maybe New York State.
Yeah, I mean, there's
even
not
the city.
Even the city. When
you say business,
I'm going to let Bobby go because I know he's got his kids to take care of. But Paul, can you stay for like 5 more minutes?
Of course, yeah.
Thank you all so much. And I hope to talk to all of you soon, and happy holidays.
Bobby, I want you to know I'm extremely grateful to you and also to David for actually paying attention to me and actually saying you would come on the show. I reach out to a lot of people and not everybody responds. So I am grateful to you.
I hope to be on again, and I hope to see and talk to all of you again, because the bill won't pass unless we're able to galvanize independent artists to say, this will mean a lot to us. If we do that, I'm confident we can get it done.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. And Paul, so it's you and me now. So there's tons of questions, I think. I see, David, you have your hand up. Why is somebody calling me?
I'd like to, I'll just Bob, when the time comes when we do need to get up to Albany, do you have a list of can we contact people through you when that call comes, right? Or, in terms of like what's the, in terms of organizing, or is that something you and I can follow up with?
Yes, absolutely.
Post this, but I know, so I saw some people in the chat mentioning, I'm ready to go to Albany, so I don't want to miss that opportunity to, if people are excited about it. So do you have like a list of the participants in this this people who have signed up? Is that just
Well, let me just put it out to the room right now. If you don't want me to share your email with David, send me a private email right now so I will know. Otherwise, we do create a follow-up list, and we do follow up with everybody. Like a Monday or Tuesday, we'll be sending out a follow-up email that'll include the chat, and we'll include whatever else we want to add to it. I can definitely share with you today's list. I can also do an email to, well, I have a list. I don't know if I can do it to 4,800 people, but I can do some sort of. I have 900.
That will really shake things up if we get 4,800 people. Yeah. But listen, Bob,
David,
we'll follow up. It sounds like you and I will follow up. I
can do something.
We're thrilled to be. I realize for some people who aren't from New York State, like even for people who are, it's like getting to Albany is rough. Can be even if you're living here. But we'll be in touch about this advocacy. It's great to connect with everyone. We're like I said, we're delighted to be here. And I'm gonna leave as well. But we're really grateful to be connected through you, Bob. We'll be in touch.
Well, I'm gonna ask you. Could you stay a few more minutes because I have more questions?
I can say. Give me one sec. I just got.
Okay.
Okay, well, because that'll make it easier. I think some of these questions were going to be for Bobby, and David can probably field them. John Ewing, you had your hand up. So is this a question for Paul? Is this a question for Bobby?
Either. I just wanted to know, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the tax incentive for Broadway was put in place to help save the industry after the pandemic. And I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on why hasn't that been made permanent? With all that Broadway contributes to New York City, I sort of feel that the legislation takes Broadway for granted. And I think that Broadway producers should collectively demand the tax incentive with as many jobs and everything. Before the pandemic.
Are you talking about this for this bill, the tax incentive for this bill? Because the tax incentives that were offered during COVID were amazing. They were amazing. They saved the lives of so many companies and so many theaters, so many actual Broadway shows were able to benefit from that as well. I guess another way of saying this, David and Paul, is there a way of building off of the tax incentives that were offered during shutdown to create another viable bill that we might want to present to the state assembly or wherever? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just come more from the real estate perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, the theaters, you had the transferable air rights, the theater TDRs that were established like 30 years ago. I think most of those are sold. So that, I guess, was a way to help the theaters along by selling those air rights. I mean, I mean, for me, because just my real estate background, I'm not sure what kind of on the real estate side, what you could do. I mean, I certainly agree that Broadway itself should be supported. I mean, I think that just the area itself needs an urban planning facelift, in my personal opinion. But I think I'm not alone in that to encourage audience development. I think that kind of goes hand in hand. But I don't know if I don't really have any other thoughts on that. A little outside my area of expertise on specific, what you can do for that specific business.
Well, I think I just lost Owen. So Owen, are you gone? I think you're gone. So let me see if there are any other questions we didn't cover. Let me just ask the room: are there any other questions that we didn't cover that were in the chat or that you would like to bring up while we still have Paul and David here. If I don't see any hand raises, then I'm going to wrap up.
I didn't have a question, but David, I put this in the chat. I am actually the general counsel of the Authors Guild, and we've been working with the New York City Literary Arts Coalition to try to get spaces for writers to write and work in and connect in. So I would love to be able to connect with you guys in terms of like advocacy, and we can certainly maybe able to get folks to hop on a bus too, the non-dramatic writers as well.
So let me ask you this, David. Does the bill specifically talk about the arts or specifically talk about theater? I think it's the arts.
It's the arts, but Cheryl, I just sent you my assembly email, so feel free to reach out, and we can have a discussion. It's happy to be in touch.
I think
I would love to. Thank you so much.
The bill, includes, if you're a not-for-profit, all arts and culture. One thing I just wanted to mention, on Plot, which is the real estate advisory practice that I'm starting to focus on the creative community, I see these kind of, I assume this is somewhat of a small space requirement. No one has, I think, really rolled up their sleeves to focus on, matching all these smaller space requirements in a way, maybe grouping them together or focusing on it. And it's a real struggle when whether it's office space or rehearsal space or, performance space. And I think there's a real power in grouping some of these organizations together. So I'll be happy to talk to anyone about that, because that's kind of, I am actually working on one project. They're not for profits, but it's in the recording business, and trying to group some together where they can actually save money in leasing space collectively. Because what I just see is that landlord and owners love the fact that they're kind of separate small tenants, but if there's a way to group them together, I think there's a lot of efficiency, and that could benefit some of these organizations you're talking about. There's a way to group them together, or maybe through space sharing or some creative arrangement, because it's very tough. There's not a lot of incentives or tax breaks out there that will benefit these groups economically to lease space. And I'm not sure, and there's not many landlords who are just going to give away space for free.
Janelle, you have your hand up.
Yes, Bob.
Oops, we lost you.
Wanted to echo your gratitude to Paul, David, and Bobby. Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay, great. Yes, I just wanted to echo gratitude to Paul, David, and Bobby. Initially, Bob, when I had sent you the article in Broadway World about this bill, your response was hallelujah. And getting you all here in a room and having this dialogue, I can tell how many people are really inspired, especially with what we're going through. And so we feel like we need to have a purpose. And so this is a great way to sort of channel that energy. So I just wanted to thank you all for that.
And we will find a way of following up on it too. I'm just checking questions. Did we already go? Tina says, Bob or Paul mentioned the power of theater groups joining together. How does IndieSpace help that happen, and what is Plot? We already did that. Okay, that was her hand raise. I depend on Owen for this, and Owen left me. So let me see what else is in here. Good Lord. I think I'm just gonna have to wrap up now. David, thanks for hanging a little longer.
I think we covered most of this. I'm looking at the questions also, but
and so give me 1 second while I wrap this up for YouTube, and then Paul, I have something I want to ask you. But so YouTube viewers and podcast listeners out there, if you've sort of stumbled upon us and you like what we do, I don't really think I introduced Theater Resources Unlimited to you. We're an arts services organization. We've been around for 32 years. Yes, 32 years I've been doing this. And we help people to understand and navigate the business side of the arts. We originally had a mission that was to support producers. We've expanded that as we realized that producers are not the only people that produce in our business. There are artists who also have to produce and artists who have to understand the business. So we help everybody in theater, hopefully, in some way or other. And if you'd like to be part of this, you've discovered us and you go, hey, these guys are cool. If you'd like to be in the room and ask questions, I can make that happen. Just email me at trunltd@aol.com. That's trunltd@aol.com. And we'll invite you every week until you tell us to stop. So that's one thing. And the other thing is we've been doing this as a service since 2020. We have expenses. We are very blessed that we've been funded by NISCA, and we have another grant that's just been given to us. We still do need support. Individual support is really one of the basic things that keeps us going. So if you'd like to support us, you can go to trudonate.com, trudonate.com. That's trudonate.com, and give us a little donation. Anything you can do will be appreciated. I hope you'll join us next week. Tony Award-winning designer Beowulf Borit will be with us talking about a career as a designer in theater. I'm very excited to meet with him. And then in 2 weeks, Carla Hoke-Miller and Amy Todoroff are going to be with me, and we're going to talk about some of the city initiatives that are planned for 2025 for artists. So I do this every week. Look for us every week. I'll be having somebody on every week. So join us and be part of it, and thank you all.